It is a dark time for the fandom. Evil forces of corporate greed and malfeasance have conspired to render the once proud franchise a shadow of its former self. Left with no other alternative, Rebels return to a time when things were fun and hopeful, a time of legends. Welcome to X-Wing Redux.
Welcome back, everybody. So last time finished up the A-Wing historicals. So now it's time to see what this thing can do on the proving grounds. Just as a memory refresher, the Y-Wing made it through level 10. And the X-Wing made it through level 11. So we'll see what the A-Wing can do. I would expect given that with a single recharge it's about 10 or 15 points faster than an X-Wing, I expect it'll probably get farther than the X-Wing. It does, of course, have the X-Wing's weapon spacing problem, though to a lesser degree. On the other hand, it also has much weaker shields. So the later levels where this is where we're going to start taking a lot more fire could present more of an issue. Because it's not going to be able to take nearly as many hits as the A-Wing, or as the X-Wing, rather. Honestly, I was surprised I got into level 10 with the Y-Wing. That really had a lot to do with just it having pretty monster shields. And also being able to just single fire the guns. So yeah, we'll see how this thing does. At the very least, I'll get through the first few levels faster. So that'll be handy. And of course, we're going to be here for a while, so yeah, I think it's time for another rant, commentary thing. I don't know. Oh. Actually, kind of topical. At the time when I'm recording this, I've been watching a really long, like it's a 4-hour video, 4-hour YouTube video by this person who I'd never seen before, but apparently she has a fair bit of following. Anyway, it's very well done and very well researched about the rise and almost inevitable fall of the Galaxy's Edge Star Wars hotel thing, which I had vaguely heard of, but then I also looked at the price and went, LOL, nope. Because that's one of those things where, okay, yeah, that sounds cool, but, yeah, so, this is going to lead to a completely different tangent, which is that I have a family of 7. Now, the oldest is soon to be leaving the nest. Probably followed it another year or two by the next one down. So the family is slowly getting smaller, at least as far as the kids that are at home goes. But I have a family of 7. Disney, especially Disney World, but Disney and honestly most theme parks do not build numbers for families of 7. They build experiences and price them for families of 4. Sometimes even just families of 3. But it's almost always, like you see in the advertisements, if it's a family kind of thing, it's almost always 2 kids. Mom, dad, 2 kids. Most often a brother and sister, because that way you hit all the demographics. But the point is, family of 4. The costs go up a lot when you try and do the same thing with a family of 7, because you gotta buy 3 more tickets. A lot of times there's not even a package deal for like a family this size. So you're buying extra tickets. You have to spend more on vehicle rentals. Obviously, you have to spend more on a room. Because, like that Galaxy's Edge video, the gal who did it, so she's got video of her room, which Disney said could sleep 5. And technically, it's true. Because it had what looks like a queen bed, and then 2 bunk beds, and 1 fold-out bed. So, alright, technically that would sleep 5. Okay, that's fine and dandy, but then I have 7, so where are the other 2 sleeping? It just... The math doesn't math for a lot of this stuff, and that's why we haven't gone on a lot of family vacations that involve high-dollar adventures. Now, I am also very grateful that the area of the U.S. that I now reside in understands that not every family is a family of 4. Back when I used to live in Washington, they didn't understand that. Like if you bought a family pool pass, it was for 4. And then you were stuck paying extra for additional passes for the other kids. Here, we buy a family pool pass every year, and it covers the entire family, which is how it should be. But it's just a minor tangential rant thing. Like, look, not everybody's a family of 4. Stuff's more expensive in this scenario. So, not really a complaint, just an observation. And again, I'm glad that I live where I live, because most places around here are set up for... If they say family, then it means actual family size. Because also, I should acknowledge, like, there's a lot of families that are bigger than mine. There are folks in my church who are families of 7, 8, 9. There's one in my Civil Air Patrol squadron that's like a family of 13 or 14, I think. I think in their case, part of it is they're a little bit of a blended family too, but which, I mean, you'd think in the year of our Lord 2024, given how many blended families there are, like, it's almost easier to end up with a family group that is more than 4, because you have so many marriages and partnerships where, you know, if each person's bringing, you know, if one person brings in 2 kids and the other one brings in 1, well, now you're a family of 5. Well, and if you both bring in 2, well, now you're a family of 6. And yikes. But, okay, anyway. Rabbit trail over back to the Star Wars hotel thing. Which, like I said, I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to this when it came out. I mean, on the surface, it sounds like an interesting idea. This video, which I definitely recommend. Okay, so the video is called The Spectacular Failure of the Star Wars Hotel by YouTuber Jenny Nicholson. Listen, I've never seen any of her stuff before, but the topic looked interesting. But this shit. I think the concept of a Star Wars experience, I mean, that seems like a really cool idea, you know? Who doesn't want to live their Star Wars fantasy? And I'm not done with the video yet. I'm about halfway through it. I do think I will give them a little bit of credit that the deck was probably stacked against them a little bit. Launching a new high-dollar hotel experience in 2021, even though you're in Florida, but in 2021, when half the country was still freaked out about COVID, probably a little bit more of a tough sell. So there's that. I'm sure they thought, I'm sure the hope was that, well, they'd get enough business that they could stay open, and then word of mouth, and anyway. The other problem, look, I will straight up make the argument they definitely screwed up by setting it in the sequel era. Nobody likes the sequels. I mean, okay, I guess there's some people who like the sequels. We call these people idiots. Look, I know I'm not supposed to yuck anybody's yum, but I think I've made my stance on the sequels pretty clear. Look, I think setting a theme, putting a theme in a setting that a lot of hardcore fans don't like was a dumb idea. Especially when, with the price tags that they were charging, which is just eye-watering, you are only catering to the very hardcore fans. Because the price for this 2-night experience, which of course that was one thing I picked up on from the internet, the price was like $6,000 for this 2-night, 3-day themed adventure thing. So you are only going to get hardcore fans with money willing to travel to Florida and who really want to live a Star Wars fantasy thing in the least popular setting in the entire Star Wars canon. I mean, that feels like you've really set yourself up for failure right from the get-go. And then watching her video, like, it's actually so much worse. No, I mean, hypothetically speaking, right? If I were going to take let's say my wife and my two youngest kids. Leave the oldest teenagers at home, which we would not do, but hypothetically, right? My wife and my youngest two kids are going to go to this thing. If I'm paying that much money, and she makes this point in her video too, like, here's what $6,000 would get you on a Disney cruise. And it is a high-end, premium, like, captain's cabin kind of thing with a balcony and all sorts of super fancy, super luxe accoutrements. Yeah, I realize that's a whole themed... The whole theme of a Disney cruise is just Disney rather than Star Wars. But again, it's just... To pay that kind of money, this quote that she had, it's the Spirit Airlines of Disney of Disney and Star Wars experiences. Which... For anyone who's had the misfortune of flying on Spirit Airlines, you'll understand exactly what that means. TLDR, don't fly Spirit Airlines. Because they will literally nickel and dime you for everything. And that cheap flight won't be nearly as cheap as you think it is by the time you're done. Spirit is one of those airlines that almost every other year you see a story about how they're trying to figure out how to charge people to use the bathroom on the plane. And you read it and you wonder if it's a late April Fool's Day prank or if they're actually going to try it this year. I don't fly Spirit. I would sooner drive. Like, literally anywhere in the country, I would sooner drive than fly Spirit Airlines. Now, admittedly, I live in the upper Midwest, and we'll drive almost anywhere anyway. Like, I'm not going to consider flying somewhere unless the drive will take me less than 12 hours. I'm not going to consider flying unless the drive is going to take more than 12 hours. Because anything less than that, it's just not worth my time. Because I don't live in a city with an airport hub. So with a few exceptions, for me to fly anywhere involves at least one layover. And yeah, it's basically like, no, it's going to be 6 to 8 hours between getting to the airport, get on the plane, do the transfer, go to the other flight, get whatever I need at my destination, etc. So, yeah. Most of the time I'd rather just drive unless it's really far. But anyway. Yeah, so back to the Galaxy's Edge thing. Or Star Wars Hotel, whatever. yeah, I mean, just watch the video, but I mean, she points out, like, there's, even given the setting that they had, there's so many missed opportunities to gamify it, to make it more immersive. And they just took, like, it seems like when they designed it, they just took the cheapest approach that they thought they could get away with while still charging people an arm and a leg. Which just really seems to be the modern Disney way, unfortunately. Oh, I missed a gate. I am gonna have to actually bump up my laser charge here, because I've run them dry. Because again, I'm starting to run into that issue of A-Wing's dinky shields are actually causing a problem. Just can't take the number of hits that I could in an X-Wing. So even though the shields are smaller, it's still kind of an issue. Also, I don't have as much energy to recharge with since I've got 2 weapons instead of 4. But it is at least going faster. There we go. But yeah, so anyway, StarWars Hotel, definitely recommend watching the whole video, maybe over a couple of days, because again, it is 4 hours and she really just takes apart every single issue with it. And while also doing a really good job of going back through all the advertising and the designs and going, hey, here's what they promised this was going to be. And it totally wasn't. Here's what it actually was. And to be fair, she does give them credit where credit's due for some of the nice immersive things, but it just the price for what you got is just eye-wateringly bad. And I also understand, like, there is a modern... Don't get me started on Disney adults. Like, there is a definite gap between like families that go to Disneyland or go to Disney World every year, which, I mean, if you're local or semi-local is one thing. If you're flying out there every year, that's, you know, either you've got lots of money to burn or you're just really bad with money. Take your pick. And then there's the families that do it as like it's a once-in-a-lifetime Disney adventure vacation thing. And, you know, That's one of those things I would love to do with my kids. Sad to say, I don't really see that ever happening, given the costs, given a lot of Disney's policies, and just like I'd read, and honestly, like having read some of the stuff with how their parks work now with the fast passes and all that, it's kind of like, you know, if I'm going to go halfway across the country to Florida for a big family theme park adventure, yeah, I think Universal Studios actually sounds like a better bet. Which is kind of sad, honestly, because I grew up in Southern California, so we were one of those families that went to Disneyland probably, if not once a year, every couple of years. I mean, we definitely would go to a theme park every year. Because Southern California also had Knott's Berry Farm and Magic Mountain. So, you know, like I grew up being able to go to a theme park every year. And there's some smaller theme parks kind of near us, but nothing that compares to Six Flags or Disney or even Knott's Berry Farm. Which is, again, kind of a bummer. But, again, there's also a lot of other things that make living where I do worthwhile. And we've gotten to do a couple of big, fun family road trips, and again, there's a lot of stuff to do in our state, in the surrounding states, that doesn't cost an arm and a leg. So, you know, just no. Who knows? You know, maybe someday my wife and I will end up being those grandparents who just, you know, grab the grandkids and take them to Disney or something. Or Universal Studios, I don't know. Like, I'd love to think that Disney could at some point pull their collective heads out of their asses and actually make good family-friendly content again and make good quality movies and adventures and stuff. Maybe that's me just being overly optimistic. But, you know, I'll freely cop to in that regard. You know, call me Fox Mulder, I want to believe. And space aliens are probably about as realistic as Disney doing any of the good things that I've just said, so I guess only time will tell. as it is, I think it's sad to watch some of these companies that used to be really great go down the tubes because they've clearly lost their way. Not just Disney in that regard. I mean, Boeing's a big one in the news right now, obviously. Actually, I'll throw out a book recommendation. Good to Great, which I've read twice. The fascinating thing about it, and I would love to see a follow-on version that's just like where it all went wrong, though. Because what's interesting about Good to Great is that so many of the companies that are featured in that book, because it's an older book at this point. It's from, I want to say it was originally published in the 90s, maybe early 2000s. But what's fascinating about it is that so many of the companies that he points to as having gone from good, or even just mediocre, to great, are now either defunct or complete train wrecks. And in most cases, you can kind of look at them and go, yeah, well, it turns out the great phase was really just kind of passing, and then, you know. But it's fascinating to look at and go, well, what happened to each of these companies where they've since gone down the tubes? Like Radio Shack, for an example. Like, there was a time when Radio Shack absolutely dominated the electronics market. And Good to Great, that's where he talks about them, where it's how they become so dominant. Well, then the follow-up is, well, how'd they then completely lose it all? And you can go, oh, well, poor market timing, poor leadership. 9 times out of 10, it ends up being poor leadership. General Electric's another fascinating one, which again is in his book. There's this whole thing about the GE model of management, which I don't think when Good to Great came out, anybody understood just how destructive that model actually was. Like, everybody looked at the GE model of management and went, oh yeah, that's the way to be. GE's so big, they're into everything, they do everything well, we need to hire their managers because they go through the GE school and learn to do things the GE way, and we need to import that to our companies. And almost every company that imported the GE school of style of management is now either bankrupt or in serious trouble. Yeah. Like, look at the results 20 years down the line is a huge repudiation of that. And so I don't recommend Good to Great as a read to necessarily be like, oh yeah, this is a great handbook for business leadership. I recommend Good to Great because honestly it's a cautionary tale of how things can look good and then completely fall apart, either because follow-on leadership is just completely lacking, or because the actual leadership that looked like they were getting good results actually wasn't. which... Here. Circling all the way back to Disney, and Boeing for that matter, I'd argue that part of the problem with the Star Wars Hotel and stuff like that is, you know, that I'm sure that looked great on the bottom line, talking to investors, talking to the Disney board in 2020 and 2021 as they're rolling this out. It's like, hey, 2020, hey, yeah, look, I know revenue's way down because of the whole COVID thing, but we've got these new exciting experiences coming. People are going to love them. And not only that, they're not going to cost us a whole lot because we're leveraging a bunch of synergies. I hate that term. But we're leveraging synergies, and we're going to cut costs because those Imagineers said to do it this way, but we're just going to cut costs here and there and reuse some tech from this other app, and we're going to make a pot of money. Trust me. Or the Boeing, talking to shareholders, hey, we reduced some cost by 25% in the last quarter. Well, turns out the way you reduced cost was kind of quietly stopped doing some of your inspections for manufacturing. And yeah, now the bills are coming due. And good hitmen to deal with your whistleblower problems are probably expensive. Allegedly. Allegedly expensive. Because all the Boeing whistleblowers have definitely died without any foul play involved. For sure. If you believe that, you probably believe that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. Yes, I went there. Look, you know what? If you're one of the 5 people who's watched this thing up through now, give yourself a round of applause. Go pause this nonsense and pour yourself your favorite beverage or something, because you deserve a medal for putting up with my ramblings for this long. And actually, if you've gotten this far in the video, throw a comment down below just so I can see it. I will definitely respond. I just want to know if anybody made it this far. Okay, let's see. Where am I? I'm running my mouth so much. I haven't even been paying attention properly. So this is level 8. Which is the important one to get through, because this is the one where you get your patch for the ship. I'll be honest, with the shields, so I've had to bump the laser recharge rate up to max now, and my shields are not doing real great. Like, I am starting to doubt a little bit whether this is going to beat the X-Wing. It's definitely got the speed. Oh, now we're into the rear firing turrets. Anyway, it's definitely got the speed, but I don't know if it has the protection. I feel like I'm burning through a lot of energy because I'm trying to keep my shields topped up. And I don't have nearly as much cannon energy as I do in any of the other fighters. So misses are kind of costly too. I'm doing okay. Oh. Of course, then that happens, and that's never good. Unforced error like that, and that's really expensive. Which, of course, that's what got me in the X-Wing, too, was I crashed. I don't know. X-Wing might have made it to level 12 if I hadn't hit the ground. Probably not, because I think I was already in pretty bad shape. But maybe. Two rear ones in a row. Okay, now we're... Of course, cannon energy is just constantly at low ebb. Okay, level 9. So got through the important part. So now it's just gravy. Now it's just, can I get farther than a Y-wing? Can I get farther than an X-wing? And the answer is, we will see. Because I don't know. Pew, pew, pew. Definitely works better if I can accurately take out more targets quickly. Reduce the number of things that get a chance to shoot at me. Okay, shields are okay. Hard to spot the targets sometimes. There we go, we're making progress. Oh. Had an itch on my nose. Should have used my throttle hand. Alright. I'm good now. Everything's fine. We're all fine here. How are you? Okay, rear firing group. Followed by a front-facing group so that my shields can get beat up from both directions. Got all 6 of them there. Always good for a few bonus points. That's gonna hurt. Okay. All right, well, made it at least as far as a Y-wing. So I've got that going for me, which is nice. Shields are also in serious distress. Yep, after rebalancing. Down to one ring. Of course, it's important to keep your shields rebalanced. And I know on the Y-Wing I was doing the double front, double rear thing for a bit. But then all it takes is one hit while you're switching, because you start getting into the front and back firing turrets. I'm gonna have to for a minute though. Because it only takes a couple of hits and my shields are down to yellow. All right, rear facing, so I need to be able to take at least a couple of hits. All right, back to double front. And rear. Oh, we're in trouble. All right. Taking my first hull hit. Yep. I think this is about it. Yep, there we go.
This is Red Leader.
Well, the A-Wings look cool anyway.
You're ready for combat.
All right, so the A-Wing did not get farther than the Y-Wing, and the X-Wing is still the leader for me. And that'll do it for tonight. Thanks, everybody. Hey, thanks for watching, everyone. Please remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. I put out new videos Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Central Time, so thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.